So I was talking with one of my Ayurveda clients, and she was sharing how it was challenging. She felt challenged by trying to fit all of the new practices into her life. And I get it. It requires not only many changes in our day-to-day lifestyle, but also a lot of paradigm shifts to understand the reason behind the changes, because it's like a whole different way of thinking and philosophy that you kind of have to grasp in order to understand it. And you can do the changes, without understanding the why, but it can, if you don't understand the why, the application can end up getting a little bit lost, because there's nuance. It's so nuanced in some cases, not always, but a lot of the time it is. And I wanted to explain something about that. So when we take on these Ayurvedic practices, a good way to look at it is like the practice of bathing or showering. So, generally you're going to be showering and bathing regularly. If you don't do it for a day or possibly even two, depending on what's going on in your life, it might not be the end of the world, right? But if you don't do it for 10 days, there's going to be a big shift, right? So when we get into these Ayurvedic practices, I've seen two cases of people. There's kind of two extremes that can happen. Other things happen too, but one extreme is where someone really just doesn't adopt them at all, and those people would generally be stopping consulting pretty quickly because they're just not doing it. And then another extreme that happens is people who are just very focused and very disciplined. And this is a lot of the people that I end up working with, because they are very successful people in many areas of their lives. And this success is because of that character trait of being very disciplined and applying things. And, it's a great way to be. But when there are so many things and they're so different from what we're used to, there can come up a sense of overwhelm or a sense of stress from doing the Ayurvedic practices themselves. And that's the complete opposite of what we're going for. We're going for a reduction of stress, which can happen through the foods that you eat, the way that you exercise, the way that you sleep, meditation, breathing exercise. All these things can reduce stress. But if we're caught up in, I have to do XYZ, there's these 30 things I need to check off my list, and if I don't get them done, I'm going to feel like a failure, then, it creates stress. And so if you miss a day or two, or you can't do all of it, it's okay. Just like, maybe one day you shower, you don't wash your hair. It's okay. Like, you don't have to wash your hair every day, right? Or, things like that. It's like, okay, one day you might clean your nose with the neti pot, and maybe the next day you forget. Maybe you do it twice a week. It's okay. Like, the amount that you're able to do things, it will benefit you. I tend to try to, advise people on what I think is going to move the needle the most for them or make the most difference for them. But it's hard to know as a practitioner how much this change is going to impact someone's life. I try to find that out. But like, for example, if I tell someone to stop eating bread, a lot of bread is not good. A little bit is fine. But if I try to get the person, because bread is so common, like people eat so much bread. There are people that will have bread 3 meals a day, every day of the week. And this can be problematic in terms of how it affects the body because of gluten. And even beyond the gluten, there's pesticides that are used on wheat products that, if somebody's not having all organic, it gets into their body. It can also leach minerals from the body because of the way, if it's not like sourdough or processed properly. So there's a lot of impacts of having so much bread. But if you're eating, other kinds of foods, whole grains, rice, barley, so on, at the other times, and you're just having bread like twice a week or something like that, it's not going to have that same effect. So these shifts, and that's why the 1/4 rule exists, like making changes a little at a time. And also, like, very important not to stress over it, because it's great that you're making changes. It's great that you're trying to, incorporate yoga, incorporate pranayama, incorporate Ayurveda. But if the incorporation of it becomes a source of stress and a problem on its own, then, maybe you need to back off of it a little bit and just focus on relaxing and bringing in those things when you feel ready.